mustard edition. Although it looks a lot similar to normal editions, we know that where you are out in the world right now, things are just not normal. And we're hoping to bring a little bit of normal to your day, talking about mules and donkeys and keeping our eyes, our ears, our hearts set on creation, these amazing animals. And so my name is Dave, and this is Steve Edwards. Steve has been working with mules since about 1981, but cowboy in all his life, and he is there we go, and he is the one who is going to be answering the questions today. I know about this much. Steve lets me talk about this much, and then he makes sure that we get the right answers 100% of the time, or at least the best practice answers. Steve, how you doing so far today?
I'm doing all right, by golly. We got some clouds. They're promising some rain, so it'd be just about right, especially with the pollen count right now. My nose is running like a faucet this morning.
Yep. But mine was doing the exact same thing earlier. What's that?
I've got 2 more days of self-isolation, and then we're back at it again. I don't know how much I'll be going into town, but one thing I am going to be doing for sure is getting back in and doing the firefighting, the medical, and this sort of thing. That's come Saturday, I can be back on duty again.
Now, folks are probably wondering a little bit, firefighter? You're the mule man. You're not the firefighter, man. Talk to us real quick.
Well, my little town here, Queen Valley, we have 3 full-time firefighters, a good fire station with brush trucks and tenders and things like this. And Chief Finley is one awesome man who loves serving. And then we have several good captains in the BC. But anyway, basically there's 3 full-time. And then all of us guys that are like reserve, we go through training. We once a week we channel different things, and we do different training. We go through medical, we go through fire. Right now we're looking at wildland fires and training wise, but we can't do any training or get together right now unless we go out on a fire or an accident scene or something like that. So I have not been doing anything like that for about a month, but of course nobody's been doing anything since it's been the Corona time. But we're still first responders, and when somebody needs us, we come running. But I still love my mules, but I want to help some people. So if somebody's out there and needs our help, I want to be there and help them out.
Very good. Awesome. Yeah, from time to time you'll hear Steve talk about different firefighter stories that he's got coming up, and we'll even have some firefighter captain, right? Chief? Captain.
Yeah.
Show up here on the show.
There's a captain, there's a chief, battalion commander.
There we go. So, well, we've got a lot of questions. We got started last week. We were able to get through all the questions on the live stream last week, but we have quite a few that have come in this week. And so what we're going to do is, while we're waiting for folks to come on in, we're actually going to get started with the first question. And so, Steve, I'm going to go ahead and ask you here. This message comes from Lori. Lori sent this on Facebook. She says, I have been reading about mules, watching YouTube videos, trying to learn. Then I see your Facebook page and have been watching and picking up pointers. I am learning that mules are very different from horses. Ah, right here. Yeah, the light has come. He will not stand quiet.
Come on, yeah.
That's right. He will not stand quietly by a trailer all by himself. When I do tie him by himself, he bucks in place, rears, and throws himself on the ground. I don't have an actual mule saddle. Should I get one, or can I use a horse saddle on him? I want to keep this mule riding in memory of my friend. The mule was given to her by a friend who had passed away. If you could help me, it would be greatly appreciated. So mules are different than donkeys. When I tie him by himself, bucks, rears, and throws himself on the ground. Don't have a mule saddle. Should I get a mule saddle? Steve, what would you say to Lori?
Okay, so number one, we have a lack of respect when it comes down to the halter. When you adjust a halter correctly, if the mule goes to the right, the halter bumps him. If he pulls back, the halter bumps him. So every time he goes somewhere, he is made uncomfortable. And you see, when they're made uncomfortable, pretty soon they start thinking, well, now I'll find another way. Bucking, that didn't work. Throwing on the ground, that didn't work. But if you had an adjusted halter, adjusted correctly, 2 fingers above the nostril and snug around the chin, right in behind a pole, if that was adjusted correctly, and then tie them no more than about 3 foot of rope at the most. Now, the other thing I like to do is take a rubber mat and put it down where the mule paws, because they can flat dig a hole. All right. So first, number 1, and no saddle on the mule, tie it to the trailer, see if it does the same thing. That's number 1. Okay. And then number 1, let's do it this way. Number 1, put on a properly adjusted halter. And of course, we have them here at Queen Valley. I would suggest that to everybody, that you always do ground communication. You cannot do enough ground communication. So I've got a really great little kit that comes with a halter, come along rope, and a how-to video. Very, very important. I know a lot of you have just bought the halter and the come along rope thinking you'll do all right. But you need to see the whole process, and you'll see it in this video that comes with that kit. So number 1, adjust a halter. Number 2, tie them to the side of the trailer. Number 3, make sure you've got a rubber mat. You can take one of the mats out from the horse trailer, put it down so that they only paw that. Now, he's already tried all kinds of ways. Okay, it didn't work for me to go right and left. Didn't work for me to go up. So maybe I'll buck and throw a fit. It didn't work. Well, when he hit the ground, that sometimes puts the fear into them. So now, once we see if they do it without the saddle, that answers the question that they just flat don't want to stand there. When they paw, folks, when they paw, all mules, all donkeys, all horses, when they paw, it's because they want something. What's he want? He wants what we train him to do, and that is we train him to sit in a corral. We train him to be in a pasture. That's our main training techniques, folks. And unfortunately, we end up with a lot of behavioral problems. So give him a job. Tie him to the trailer. Tie him to a tree. Tie him to a hitching post. Tie him to the side of a barn. But if they can stand in the corral or they can be out in the pasture, they can darn sure stand where you want them. Okay, that's number 1. Now, number 2, saddle. Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have any mule saddles. Everybody and their grandmother has mule saddles. My saddle is nothing like everybody else's. My bars, my tree, the way I've got it designed, is strictly only what my design is. So, can I help you with a Steve Edwards mule saddle? Yeah, absolutely. But if you're going to take and be riding a mule, you have to understand why that saddle is so important. It's probably the number 1 thing, huh, Dave?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Number 1 thing. What makes it important?
Yep. So Dave has put together a saddle. What do you call it?
The Mule Saddle Training Course.
Free. You go. You can see pictures, big mules, little mules. You can see how we fit things. It's free. Everything is there. You can visually see it. You can see everything going on. And you know, there's no Hollywood here. We don't change things to make it look good. You see step by step how it goes. Go there and see it for yourself. Plus, we have lots of YouTube videos. We got some videos with some folks with my saddles that somebody has said, no, don't do it that way. Do it this way, folks. My stuff fits one way, and that is a back cinch, a breeching, and loose front cinch, and then a good breast collar. Once you do that, your mule's going to be happy. You sure you can make your saddle work for a while, and then finally your mule's going to have enough. Now you can either cripple the mule, or the mule's had enough of you. I've even heard of mules kicking the saddle out of their hands, so out of their feet. So look, I had one client here. I just read it to you earlier. They want to know about an Australian stock saddle. Here's the key word. It's not mule, all right? Australian stock saddles only have one cinch. That back cinch is important. It's not set up for a breeching. It's the rigging plate is in the wrong place. There's lots there. And don't ever let anybody tell you that a stock saddle is going to work. Never ever seen it. All the pictures I've seen, the stock saddle is always in the wrong place, too far forward on the scapula. But there's a lot to do in these saddles, and I don't have somebody to say, Steve, here's a saddle, it's a mule saddle, sell it. No, this is what I learned from the mule, and everything that's in that saddle is my technology.
Yep, that's right. I put a link to the mule saddle training course in the comment section, both on YouTube and Facebook. Folks, that's free. You don't have to spend any money, and if they've got you locked inside right now trying to sequester and trying to quarantine, man, I'll tell you what, there's not a whole lot better you can do with your time. If you've got mules or a love for mules and donkeys, and you want to know how to give them the most enjoyment and maximize their usefulness and maximize, their enjoyment of life, man, you've got to know how all the tack fits with the saddle. It's going to make a world of difference. Folks tell us all the time. It's not just us saying it. We get messages all the time of folks saying, oh, my mule was doing this, swapped out the saddle, swapped out Crooper for a Britchin, and using your breast collar, Steve, it's not happening anymore. Well, there's a reason why it's not happening anymore. Is because in the first place, the mule wasn't comfortable. The mule was trying to tell you, and like Steve says, like they'll tell you once, they'll tell you twice, they'll tell you 3 times, heck, they'll tell you 100 times, but one day they're just going to be like, you know what, I'm not taking it anymore. This pain, I can't take this pain. And that's when you might get one, bucking you or throwing themselves, doing whatever the case might be. So that's good. Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, so I agree. So it's a big question. I never thought I'd be selling saddles. Of course, I never thought I'd be talking to somebody on the internet and be talking to people all over the world. Do we have any Australians out there yet, or New Zealanders or anything?
Yeah, we do. We've got Joy Dyer, says, hi here from Wuko, Queensland, Australia, warm and raining. All right, we've got Queensland, Australia. We've got international here. Party noise. Woo! Good to have you here, Joy. Let's see who else is joining us today. We got a good crew here. Yolanda, we've gone international again. How about some applause? All right, Yolanda's here from the Netherlands. Let's see. Joy is here on Facebook and YouTube. Double dose. Carolyn, right here from Southern Iowa. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, Joyce. Cowboykin Fossier. Hello, guys, from Connecticut. Karen Heatwall. Happy to be here again. Karen, we're happy to have you. We've got James from Holden, Missouri. We've got Diane from Wooster, Ohio. We've got Linda from Michigan. Thank you for all your help, Linda says. We've got Linda from Linda the Mule Servant and Theo, the sweet one-eyed mule in rural central Ohio, warm and sunny and electric green pasture everywhere. Thank you for being here, Linda. And we've got Susan watching from Costa Rica. We've gone international again. All right.
Susan.
International. Wow. We may have more from other countries than we do from America. How about it?
Who knows?
Let's do it. All right. So the way this works, folks, thank you for those who have shared where your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. We love hearing that from you. So if you haven't shared that you're watching, just pop in the comment section your name and where you're watching from, what the weather's like today. That's the first thing. The second thing, make sure you ask all your questions. I got a good list of questions right here, but if you got a question, that's the one that we're missing, and we need to have it. So go ahead, put in the comment section whatever your question is. And then finally, the third thing, and we really ask this because we're getting this back up and going, is that you share the broadcast on Facebook, you share the broadcast link from YouTube, you email your friends, you tag them in the Facebook comment section, because if you don't tell them, they'll never know. And when they find it on their own and say, whoa, you've been there this whole time? Why was you holding out on me? You're going to have a mess on your hands. And we want to help you avoid that. We want to keep your friendship strong and your relationship with the mule and donkey even stronger. So share the broadcast. Steve, let's get to the next question here.
All right, let's fire it up.
We've got Jason who sent in an email. Jason says, I am new to mules, always having other animals. I want to feed Lake and Light, like you've mentioned, and I was wondering how much I should feed on a daily basis. I have a 4-year-old John that's roughly 975 to 1,000 pounds. any feeding information is appreciated. So we talk a lot about the Lake and Light. I'm going to put a link to the feed talk with you and James Weatherford, formerly of Lake and Milling, so folks can watch that. But how do you know how much to feed? Now that we know we need Lake and Light, the pellets are a great solution. How do you know how much to feed?
Okay, number one, the pellet it's a great feed. It's cooked. It's the vitamins and minerals are added to it, and that's what I like about this pellet. It's far less expensive to feed in the long run than it is to feed hay. You think about hay. Hay's always getting spilled out on the ground. What happens then? They eat on the ground. What happens with that? They get their worms and they get sand, things like this. But the number one thing is, folks, this food is a pure food. That's one of the downsides of feeding hay is this. There's lots of parts in it. Snake parts, bird parts, rabbit parts, who knows, whatever. Bird droppings and things like this. And botulism, folks, has a lots of similarities to colic. So when an animal is colicking, it could very well be botulism from the hay. So what I like about the hay is there's no waste. I mean, the pellets, there's no waste in this sort of thing. So number one thing you should do, float the teeth of your mule. That's number one. Get them floated, get them balanced so that they can properly drain their feed. Now, number two, take and worm them. That's extremely important, and sometimes up to twice a year, depending on that situation. Then when it comes down to the pellet, yes, Lake and Light does make the feed. You can go to my website and read an article called Mules Cannot Stand Prosperity. And that article is going to talk about feed and things like this, but at the very end, there's the ingredients of what is in that pellet, and you can go to it. Now, going back to the feed, how much do I feed? That size of an animal, I would, and he's standing in a corral, I would probably feed 2 3-pound coffee cans morning and night. So that would be roughly 12 pounds per day. Now, watch your animal. Watch the droppings. When those road apples hit the ground, make sure they're nice and green and are very nice and wet. That your urine and your road apples all make a case for how healthy your mule is. So now, let's just say that you're feeding that right now. That's where you're starting, and you're starting to see that he's leaving some pellets. Cut back a little bit, or you're starting to see that he sucks up the pellets really quick. Well, if he does that, don't give him more pellets. He'll need it. What he needs is to just put some rocks in there, some river stones, something like that, so they have to move the rocks around to get to the pellets. And that's what happens a lot of times. You'll take some of these mules can flat be a pig and just get in there and scarf up things. And so you're going to feed 2 3-gallon cans in the morning. I said 3 gallons, 3 pounds.
Gallons, man, that would be
coffee can.
That'd be quite a bit.
At night. So 2 in the morning, 2 at night, and let me tell you something else, folks. I don't get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, feed them breakfast, and then go for a ride. You can't do that times 10 or 15 animals. That's a lot of work. So it's what we've done on ranches for years. We know what animals we're going to work the next day, so we bring them in. And of course, these mules all stay in pens all the time. But I take and feed all they need that night. One mule may need 15 pounds, another 20, another maybe 10. But I feed all they need for the full feeding that night. The next morning, they've ate, they've drank, they're comfortable, they're ready to go to work. And the majority of mules are waiting for me right there at that gate, ready to go. So that's what I do. I quit feeding hay a long time ago. I got tired of it getting moisture in it, and the possibility of colicking animals too. But that's what I do. Now, start that way. Start with those 2 3-pound cans, one pair in the morning, one pair at night, and then work your way around it. There's no particular feed that you can say feed this much every day for your meal. Because let's put it like this. If I've got animals going to work, I'm going to increase their feed according to their work. So now, you know you're going to go trail riding the next day. Go ahead and increase the feed by about 2 to 3 pounds. Or what I like to do is I'll give them rolled oats. I'll put a nose bag on them, and while I'm saddling them, they can eat all the oats they want. Now, the great thing about doing it that way is that they burn energy off of those oats, and then they got plenty of energy to do what they got to do, and they'll lose fat and gain muscle. That is the only time that I feed oats. I don't just feed it to them on a daily basis. I feed it to them when I'm getting ready to go to work.
Very good. Hopefully that'll help. I put links to Mules Can't Stand Prosperity, and I also put a link to the Feed Talk article. You can find those in the comments section. This is some questions that we get quite often is about feed, and so hopefully these resources will get you the answers that you're looking for. Let's make sure that we welcome everybody else who's joined us. Bruce Lawless is joining us. Hello, Steve. Thanks for taking care of me. Love the new cinches. We sure do love hearing that. We've got Joy Hollingworth joining us. We've got David Cantors from Port Angeles, Washington. Sorry I'm late, David. Better late than never. We're grateful that you're here. We've got Eileen Easterday. And Eileen and Joy have questions for us. Real quick, want to say over on YouTube, hello to Walt Weaver in Reno. We've got Naomi says hello there, and Richard Pitts saying finally getting to see you again. Hi from Palestine, Texas. Richard, it's good to have you here. Naomi sent this question in over on YouTube. Wanted to make sure we got to it. How do you work with a very sensible Molly mule? Because if I do the bump, bump, bump method, she gets scared and freaking out, so I have the feeling that the method is wrong for mules like that. Is the method wrong for a mule like that, Steve?
No, she's sensitive. She'll get over it. She'll get over it, you know. Don't quit. This thing has worked for me for years, whether it has been a sensitive mule or a dull mule or whatever. Sure, she gets wild-eyed. She'll get over it. Now, that means you need to work your technique a little bit different. Maybe the bumping needs to be a little bit more easier and lighter. So change it accordingly. But, you know, if she throws her head back, and that's okay, she'll get over it. She'll get to work. She'll drop her head. She'll get soft, and she'll do good. But don't quit. The bump, bump, bump works the very best of anything I've done for over 30-some years.
Yeah, and the big thing, if you see Steve do it live, it makes a whole lot more sense. And of course, you can see it on the videos, and that can help too. But if you want to go up against a 1,000-pound animal and you weigh, I don't know, just say $150, who's going to win that battle? 1,000-pound animal or $150? You're tugging, they're tugging. Okay, you want to go up against a 1,000-pound animal, a little bit more weight, you're 200. Who's going to win that? The 1,000-pound animal. What really became clear for me was watching that you cannot win a tugging match with one of these animals. But when you bump, 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 that actually gives you a lot of control because it's short bursts of pressure, short bursts of energy. Now, if you get in a tug of war match with somebody, just another person, and just think about you two pushing up against one another, no one's really going to go anywhere. But what if you start like this? Well, they're going to have to be on their reaction time, and that's why timing is so important as well. But yeah, it was a really big eye-opener for me. Was like, man, you're not going to win a tug of war with them, but it's a completely different experience when you're doing bump, 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 because it's great timing, it's short bursts of energy. It feels like that's really what makes the difference, Steve.
Oh, yeah, it does. And you know, I wished I could have a video for all the hundreds of mules that I've trained. You know, there's the reactions are in a different way, but still the concept is the same. They cannot brace against a bump bump. You know, some are more sensitive than others. So then change your routine. Maybe a little lighter, a little easier. Some of them will get dull and brace against you. So you just have to do it until you are communicating correctly with that mule, and it'll work.
Very good. Very, very good. All right, we got a question here from Joy. She says, Steve, what bit do you recommend I use for driving my donkey Roma? At the moment, I use a low port Kimblewick, and she's fine, but wondered if there was something better. Steve, what bit advice would you give to Joy?
Okay, number one, a Kimberwick low port, that's fine for a finished mule, finished donkey. And it's not my preference. My preference for a finished donkey, finished mule would be a Liverpool bit. And it's actually reversible. You go back and forth. One of these times, Dave, we ought to have a session where I'll just have bits up here and show. I just sent you some video on the.
Sure did. I got that yesterday. We're going to get that together.
So anyway, the great thing about the Liverpool is it's reversible. So I can have the serrated side if he wants to fight it, or the smooth side if he wants to go along with it. There's also about 5 different adjustments on it, and it works good, and it's a straight bar, and it's great. That is for a finished mule, a finished donkey that moves with a light touch only. If you got to take your hands past each other, you're pulling too much. Now, I start all of my mules with a double twisted wire snaffle bit. My mule rider's martingale in a surcingle to start with. Then as I graduate and I get ready to go into the lines and drive them on the wagon, now I want a full cheek double twisted wire snaffle bit. The reason I say full cheek is so you don't pull it through their mouth. Because when you have those long lines, you end up having a lot of leverage, and the downside of that is people over pull. When you're driving, your elbows are out in front, and your elbows never go past your belly button. Never does. If you go past your belly button, you have gone too far. You're over pulling on your donkey. You're over pulling on your mule.
Very good. Now, real quick, Steve made a comment. He says, boy, I wish I had a video of all the mules that I've trained over the year. Hang on till the end. We've got something that we're going to share with you at the end of today. We're going to be telling people about it tomorrow on the email list and on social media, but we'll tell you about it here at the end of this broadcast. Something we're real excited about, and something we've been working really, really hard on. And
today's it.
Yeah, I think some people will be interested to hear what we have to say, but we'll save that for the end here. Let's get back over to Facebook. Make sure we say hi to everyone. Dan Davis from St. Augustine, Texas. We've got Linda asking a question. Sam from Willow, Alaska. Sam Renee Crawford from Willow, Alaska. Rhonda Stallford.
Hey, Sam Renee.
There we go.
Good folks. Yep.
South Point, Ohio. Rhonda's watching, and we've got Cindy Calloway saying, "Always love watching you." Let's get to Eileen's question out there in Nebraska. Eileen, it's so good to have you with us. Eileen has been with us since almost the beginning. Almost 2 years ago. Eileen has been with us. We are so grateful for her. We are so grateful that she joins us. Week after week, and it's just great having you, Eileen. She says, Steve, what is your opinion of using magnesium for sensitive or anxious behavior? Smokey receives no grain. So she's telling you about the grain right there, but still got anxious or sensitive behavior. What would you say?
I've kind of heard about the magnesium, and I can't really say that, by golly, that's done the trick. These animals, when they're like that from the very beginning. They haven't been mistreated. It's just their nature. And so it's just one of the things that you have to deal with. We, in the past, we used to breed to sorry mares with a sorry jack, and we had that type of mule all the time. And today we like to have them a little bit more like a pet, kind of like a dog in a way. But gosh, Eileen, that's you can try it, and I'd be interested to know how you do. But I've heard a lot of people try to change things. The best thing you folks can do is to keep them on a grass hay if that's what all you can get your hands on, or get your hands on Lake and Light or that same ingredients. But I haven't seen anything yet that really works for changing with their mind like that.
Very good. Let's see here. Dan Davis says, could Steve talk about his finished trail bit, how to set it up, and how it works? So you've got the Liverpool bit, you've got the trail riding bit, and then you've got the double twisted wire snaffle bit that we have with the mule riders martingale. Is he talking about the trail riding bit or the Liverpool, or both?
Yeah, no, he's talking about the trail riding bit. Now, a trail riding bit is a finished bit. So it's meant to be ridden one-handed. You can use it two-handed, direct reining, because of the way it moves. And Dave, that's that videos that I just sent you. So it gives a lot of people some insight when we get that up online, YouTube or something like that. So now, here it is, folks. What we want to do, what I feel needs to be done, is by the time your mule and your donkey is 3 years old, we want to be out of a snaffle bit. Okay? Now, a snaffle bit, for my way of training, is only used for building a foundation or fixing a problem. It is not for an everyday bit. Why is that? Because it's always pushing on the tongue and always over communicates, because most people are pulling on the bridle. So use it for building a foundation or fixing a problem. And then the trail riding bit, the port that's there. Now that port looks like this, except for when you have it set and then it lays back a little bit. When you lay it on the table, you'll see that it sticks up off the table, where the average correctional mouthpiece, which is what that is, lays flush on both sides. The way I found a pallet works the best with my mules and my donkeys is where it's back in the pallet, back in the mouth a little bit more deeper. The great thing about the trail riding bit is it has a ask, tell, demand feature. So I ask with the port whisking the roof of the mouth like this, and I tell with the shanks going on the corners of the mouth, and then there's demand with the curb chain on the bottom. So it does give you gives the mule a chance, gives the donkey a chance to be able to make a decision rather than fighting the bit. And the other thing you guys want to remember, what folks, you mule and donkey folks, remember this: don't create one wrinkle or two wrinkles. Allow the donkey, allow the mule enough time to ask questions about the bit. You'll see it, they used to call it chomping at the bit. They're picking it up, putting it down, slobber and everything else. Let them do that. Let that bit hang down where it's between the wolf tooth, the canine on a John mule. So here's the canine right here, and here's the front teeth. Mm-hmm. Between the canine and the corner of the mouth, let it hang down. Let them pick it up. Let them pick it up and pack it and show you where the most comfortable is. The worst thing we can do with a mule or a donkey is to put it in the same place every day. Every time you get ready to take the bit off, always loosen it up 2 notches, slide it off nice and easy. Where you get an ear-shy mule is because we put it up the same way every day, and it makes them uncomfortable. And one day they get a really sore mouth, and now they throw their head to keep you from pulling on them, and then you're thinking they're ear-shy. No, it's the bars of the mouth that's got bump, and they're uncomfortable, and the poor mule or donkey's paying the price for my lack of knowledge. So it's a great bit. I've spent a lot of time figuring out how much different the palate is on a donkey and a mule compared to a horse. And yeah, I have a lot of people say, I got a bit that's just like yours. No, you don't. Number one, the bit is made in the United States, USA, by Rainsman. That's number one. Now, there are clinicians out there right now that are doing clinics, mule training clinics, and they're selling a bit that looks like mine. Folks, most of those bits are made in Pakistan and China. So, ask the trainer, where are these bits made? Mine are made in the United States. And the other thing is, my bit, just like all my other stuff, is designed by my technicians, which are the mules and the donkeys. Those are the ones they're the ones that tell me
they're the experts.
So I try to figure out a way. So my technicians are highly trained mules and donkeys.
That's good. Yeah, they are the experts. They are the ones who know what they like, and that's really a key point about what you said there. I want to make sure folks hear it. Folks always want to know, where do I place the bit in the mouth? And what Steve says, and this is just experience. So if you've got a different way, matter of fact, I remember one of the clinics from 2 years ago, there was a big disagreement on shoeing. Steve likes to keep his animals shoed, and there was a person at the clinic that said, I never use shoes. And we'll say, hey, all right, hey, if that's what you found has worked for you, I'm not gonna tell you any different. I'm just gonna share what has worked for me. And hearing Steve talk about, oh, you want to know where the mule, where to put the bit in the mule's mouth, he'll tell you where he wants that bit. The donkey they will pick it up, they will mess with it, they'll move it around, and eventually it will land where they want it the most. And one of the things I heard you say, Steve, is that you never set the bit the same way twice, meaning you're always making them kind of reach for it, guess for it. That way they constantly are working, thinking about that bit and putting it where they want. Is that correct? Did I explain that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But also remember, when the mouth of the mule and donkey, when they're first young, it looks like this. As they get older, they get long in the tooth, and the front of the face comes out. Well, as it comes out, their mouth changes. So what I do is every day I take the bit loose, a couple notches, and I let it hang down and take it off. The next, when I put my bridle on, I put it on loose. Now this is the finished bit. This is not a snaffle bit.
Yeah.
Snaffle bit, it stays loose for 6 months. But a finished bit, they've already had 3 months of training before they get there, and they learn to pick the bit up and pack it and adjust it to that spot. Now, you may have to take a hole punch and punch a hole between or something like that, but allow your mule the intelligence that they have, allow them to show you where they are comfortable, and you will have an awesome communication with your mule and donkey.
Very good. That's what we want. Awesome communication means awesome relationship. Awesome relationship means awesome experience. And I mean, that is when we get to hear folks writing back to us and just saying, man, my mule is transformed. My donkey, it's like a completely different donkey. And the level of joy they set out to experience is what they finally experience in the end, getting past all that frustration, getting past all that. Why is my mule doing that? A mule that's not listening, a mule that's not minding. They learn to communicate with the mule. They learn to communicate with the donkey, and it changes everything. Over on YouTube, Steve, we've got Mark Miller saying, good to have you all back. What's your thoughts on feeding shredded beets? We'll get to that in a second there, Mark. We've got Jim Morgan watching from Alabama. We've got Lisa Osborne saying, hey. We've got David Walls from Kentucky saying hello. It's good to have all you back. Is that what you got? What you got there in the cup, Steve?
I got some peach tea.
There we go. You look like you were enjoying that. Now I know you were enjoying that. That peach tea is good stuff.
Yeah, and Mark Williams from West Virginia made this for me.
Wonderful.
Custom made here. I'm telling you, it's nice.
Wonderful. Great. Haley Williams is here. There we go. Says, hey, Steve. We've got Linda saying, not a question, but all excited because my new Trail Light saddle is arriving tomorrow. That is that is something to get excited about, right? Trail Light saddle arriving tomorrow. Linda.
Hey, that reminds me.
Yeah.
The video that I sent you of Bunny.
Yeah.
Did you see that one yesterday?
No, I have all of them right there. I pulled them off. I put them all in a folder, and I got to look at them still.
Yeah. I can't, the guy, I lost his name right now, but he always sent me pictures of Bunny. One time with his wife, sitting by the mule, and the other times. But this guy sends me, he loves to ride. Now, the reason I say that, here it is, pouring rain. And I mean, this mule is just soaking wet. And you can hear the rain bouncing off his saddle. And he's saying, now this is what a Steve Edwards saddle should look like, wet and being used, His mule's name was Bunny. I can't think of what
I got it right here. You won't be able to see it, Steve, but I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it for the folks here.
All right, this is why I ride Steve Edwards attire. The bridle, bed of gear, and the saddle. Me and Bunny, this is about the 30th time this has happened this winter. Here it is, April, pouring down rain. We got stuck in a storm on a logging road. Pouring down rain, soaking wet. But everything's okay. Saddle's gonna be just fine. I actually ordered this morning. I knew it was gonna get a little rain. Day or two drying out, should be just fine. Piece of artwork, piece of just utter performance. I'm so impressed with Steve Edwards and his saddles. Steve, you just make a great saddle. I've ridden all kinds of saddles, Tex Hands, Martins, all kinds of saddles. But for the real mule rider, the real person out here riding logging roads, pouring down rain, you make a great saddle. You're appreciated. I just want you to know that. Me and Bunny appreciates you. I know a lot of other people do too. Talk to you soon.
How about that? How about that? That is cool. All right, let's get some applause going there.
Yeah, I tell you, I get people like that all the time, buddy, that sends me videos and pictures and how their mule was and how he is now.
Yeah.
And man, that is awesome. That's what keeps you going. And that's not me talking. That's somebody else talking. So there you are. That's fun.
Yeah, I got the picture right here. I'm gonna make it real big. There's Bunny right there. You can't see it, Steve, but the people can see it just fine.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. All right, so let's see. Getting back to it. Thank you, Linda. We really appreciate that. Cindy Calloway say, always love watching. Yolanda says, I hate double twisted wire bits. They hurt bad. And you know what? We love Yolanda. We love Yolanda. She is the diplomat in the Netherlands. Her and Suze Kuiper, the diplomats in the Netherlands, making sure that the European people know about the awesomeness of the mule and the donkey. And this is just a good example of two people who love these animals just disagree. And you know what? It's okay to have a disagreement. Yolanda will tell you what she thinks, and Steve will tell you what he thinks. And I'm sure there's a good reason Yolanda believes what she does, and there's a good reason why Steve does. So it is okay to disagree. Just be informed. And that's really what it comes down to, right, Steve? Be informed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We should send her some of the video that we've done with people who were just worried about that double twisted wire snaffle bit. Like right there in Australia.
Yeah.
I did a demonstration there, and people can see how soft it is. I say put two fingers out, and I'll use a smooth snaffle bit, and it puts the pressure. I said, all right, now here's my double twisted wire. And which one's the softest? Everybody always says the double twisted wire is the softest. And then I do a demonstration, and they hold on to the bit, and I walk behind them with the reins, and people can see how soft it is. It's just like anything else, Yolanda. The biggest problem with mules today is somebody opened the gate. And what I mean by that is we have people that are going in and rescuing mules, and they're helping them out. Well, folks, there's a lot of mules out there that belong to well-meaning people that are similar to these rescues. They're being miscommunicated with a lot of horse technique and a lot of horse training, and it's almost in the same place. So If we get a chance, we'll send some stuff to Yolanda, and she can take a look. And I agree, Yolanda. When I first was given that bit by an old cowboy 30 some odd years ago, almost 40, I said, I'm never going to put something like that in my horse's mouth. Notice I said horse because that was when I was riding at that time. But I can tell you now that it is super soft, very easy, and I can't wait when Dave and I come to the Netherlands and ride your mule. We'll show you how nice it is, huh, Dave?
That's right. That Spanish mule is going to get a kick out of it. You know what? I've got a video right here. Let me see if I can. Download this. I've got a video.
While you're doing that, Dave,
yeah,
I got a client here.
Go for it.
That sent me hey Steve, will you talk about this online? And let me see if I can find it here. Oh, there we go.
Now, while you're looking for that,
okay, this is.
Oh, you got it. Okay, go.
Amber TJADEN, Tajan, something like that. Okay, number one, she's 5'3". She says, "What do you think about Spurs for a person 5'3"? She says, I don't ride with them hardly ever because I feel like I'm always touching them on accident." Now I can tell you, folks, that you got a leg on them that's always talking to them. You need to be aware how your legs are setting. Yes, it's hard for us short-legged people. I'm 5'6", she's a lot shorter, and it's really easy to miscommunicate with your legs if you're not aware of them, okay? Now that's another thing is, make sure, folks, that you don't overfeed your mules. That's really, really important. Spurs, absolutely. I never, ever take my spurs off my boots. I've got about 3 or 4 different pairs of boots, and they got a different pair of spurs on every one of them. I use a spur all the time. Once your mule is trained, get that trained and has a foundation, you barely have to even consider it, and the mule will respond. What the spur does is it gives you a nice light touch, nice easy way to go. Or if they decide they don't want to argue, they want to argue with you, then by golly, they get the spur a little heavier. It's going to be a little heavier on them. Well, they'll get it, folks. They'll get it. You know, don't think spurs a bad thing. It's not. You just keep on using your spurs. Keep them there. Be aware of your legs. So you ask with your calf, tell with the side of your stirrups, demand with your spur, and you'll get it. One thing about spurs, it'll keep you mindful of your legs, okay? The next part, she asked, how about a Stockman saddle? Okay, Stockman saddle is 1 cinch. The rings are in the wrong place to position for a mule. Plus that, you need to use a breeching, and most of those saddles are not set up for it. Yes, you may feel like you're more comfortable in them, but what you can do is you can put a set of bucking rolls on there, and that'll make a difference. She asked about a 14 and a half inch saddle. The reason I don't do the half inches is because people sometimes wear Carhartts or they wear Shaps or something like that. But when they do, it makes up the difference. So it's easier just to make saddles 15, 16, 17, works good that way as being consistent. But if you want a little bit of added protection, I have a big set of bucking rolls that'll sit on that saddle. Really easy. 2 screws goes in, ties it in the middle, and you will be solid in that saddle.
Very good. All right, I found the video. So this is one of the first videos you and I did. This is old, but it's a goodie. It's from the zoo. So you won't see it, Steve, because we're on Skype, but they'll see it. It is you and me at the Phoenix Zoo with one of their students there, and you're taking that double twisted wire snaffle bit and you're doing the motion. So I'm going to bring it up here, and you might be able to hear the audio. Oh, hey, there's the welcome.
I'm loading up my pickup,
What's the name of your friend who does that?
We must have a
That's
bit
Joe
in order
Bear.
to
He's
communicate.
gone on to be with the Lord now.
I use a double twisted wire snapper bit simply because I capture the
Very
tongue
good.
on both
Well, here he is,
sides
right here. Here's Steve.
of the tongue
He's
rather than
talking.
a single snapper which captures the tongue in one place. So put your fingers out here. Okay? Now this is the tongue of the mouth. When this is inside the mule's mouth, it looks like this. It's just laying here. When I want to say whoa, I pick up on both sides of the ring, and you can see then the snaffle goes on both sides of the tongue, and then they put the pressure, and you can feel the pressure, and then of course the animal says, well, what can I do to be comfortable? And as soon as he stops, I let go, and the bit comes back into place. Okay? Unlike a snaffle bit, which is just one single, when it's a pressure, feel the difference in the pressure? That's a lot more pressure there with just one single than it is with the double that goes on both sides. Whole lot more comfortable. Even though the bit looks a lot nastier, looks a lot more uncomfortable, it's phenomenally comfortable, okay, which you just saw. Now, put your fingers out here, the two fingers. Now, let's just say I want to go off to the right. So this is going to be like the violin bow on the violin. When I want to go to the right, the mule or a horse feels, just keep your tongue in one place, feels that. You feel that? Okay? So it feels, and it says, what can I do to be comfortable? And as soon as his head goes, my hands get quiet. Get the idea? What can I do to get comfortable? As soon as his head goes, my hands get quiet. Feel the difference? Okay? So I want to go a direction, I'm uncomfortable. As soon as you go that direction, my hands get quiet. Feel the difference? Okay? So it's very, very important we understand that we must have the proper bit to do the proper job. Okay?
There you go, Steve. It's an oldie but a goodie.
How about that? And I've been doing that for years. You know, when I do these demonstrations at expos and this sort of thing,
Yeah.
I usually pick out some little girl. Everybody sees how small and frail she is and this sort of thing. And they see me put the bit in her hand, and then they see what little bit I move my hands, and they see her move. And then I take a big burly guy, big strong guy, you know, and I put it in his hands, and I say, look, pull against me. And they can pull me and they can drag me. But then when I use that double twisted wire snaffle bit, and I say pull against me, I go right, left, they can't drag me, you see?
Mm-hmm.
So folks, when it comes down to it, when I say whoa, I need whoa. And that bit is only, any bit is only as tough as you are with your hands. Now, if I'm wanting to stop, that mule had better stop. And that's when I go right, left. And you see in videos that I've got of big guys who are holding on the bit and they're dragging me, just like me trying to stop a mule with one hand. They're dragging me, but when I go right, left, they instantly let go.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we want. You know, it's a matter of respect, folks. The majority of mules and donkeys and horses have very little respect for the bits, mainly because the person behind the bit with their hands are not communicating correctly.
Very good. Let's get back here. We've got some questions and we got some new folks. So welcome to everybody who's joining us. Steve, do you by chance do we need to do a hard cut at the top of the hour, or can we go a little bit longer?
We'll go ahead and go a little bit longer.
Okay.
That's great.
All right, great. We've got David Pengelly says, I love the Trail Rider bit. My mule packs it and she handles it like butter. Absolutely the best. That's what we're talking about right there. We've got Erica saying, well, let's see. Erica's here from Oklahoma, enjoying the live videos. Thank you. We've got, let's see, D. Witt had a good donkey ride today, even though it was really windy. D, we're so glad that you're here. We've got Diane here. So glad you texted me to let me know about the broadcast. Really needed to hear about mules today. You encouraged me. Thank you. We've got your granddaughter here. Nat's here. Had a good day working with my makeover mule today. Worked on some sacking out and some leading. Nat, we're so glad you're here. I know you got a happy granddad here.
Yeah, boy.
We've got David Scholl saying, hey there, good morning. We're excited to have the Australians here. We've got the, let's see, Gone International again. All right. Haley Williams has a question. We'll get to that in a second. So let's go back up here. Excuse me. Let's get to Erica's question. She says, would a Hackamore be suitable for a 10-year-old mule that's well broke, or would they maybe start to not respond? I know they respond to nose pressure, and I want my new mule to be new to me mule to be comfy.
Okay, a Hackamore is a wonderful tool. Now, we have the Hackamore, which is the rawhide Boselle, that's teardrop around the nose, or we have the Hackamore that has a nose piece and a chain and shanks. And this nose piece can be a bicycle chain with rubber over top of it, a bicycle chain with braided rawhide over top of it. It could be a number of things depending on how the Hackamore is made. Okay, now, when we say well-trained, or well-broke, this is what I want to see. If it is well-trained, then in a 10-foot circle, my mule can side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, allow me to dismount quietly, allow me to mount quietly, allow me to pick up all 4 feet. Hear that, folks? In a 10-foot circle. Not that the mule has been in the mountains of Colorado or West Virginia or had 10,000 elk hollowed on them and all this stuff. It's not important. If they actually have a foundation in a 10-foot circle, we're going to see it. Now, I hesitate and to sell Hackamores, even though I've got them and I've got some that I've designed that I sell. A Hackamore is a wonderful, wonderful tool, but it is not an everyday use tool. Now, it's imperative that they learn how to use a bit. What I do to keep my mules fresh, I'll go out riding at times with a mechanical Hackamore. Okay, those are on my website, Dave. If people want to see what they look like.
Yeah.
That's the one that I particularly like to use. Now, I've got others that I like to use, the braided nose bands and this sort of thing. But let's go back. If your mule is ready for a mechanical Hackamore, which should not be used every day, it should only be used just a few times each month, then if you can side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, and get this now, ride one-handed, put the mechanical Hackamore on there. If not, here's what's going to happen, folks. If we're riding two-handed, we tend to make them brace. They tend to lock all 5 major neck muscles and the throat latch. And little by little, you're thinking you're doing your riding. Man, everything's great. Look at white picket fences. But all of a sudden, the mule has had enough of you pulling on their nose. They grab their butt and they take off sideways, and they can run just as fast sideways as they can straight ahead. So, is a mechanical Hackamore good? Absolutely. Every single mule and donkey out there should be riding a mechanical Hackamore. At least maybe 1 or 2 trail rides a month. All right? But it is not a permanent thing. You have to have a bit in their mouth to keep them fresh, to keep their mind on things. It's a wonderful tool, but it's used incorrectly. And I can see that on pictures and stuff that I've seen. Be happy to help you out if you want to give me a call.
Yeah, Erica, good question. Definitely give Steve a call. You can go to muleranch.com, and at the top you'll see Steve's number. He won't answer, but leave a voicemail. There's several times that Steve has set aside throughout his day to go through all of his voicemails and give folks a call back. So leave a voicemail, just reiterating what you said here with any further question that you have, and he'll get back to you. Let's see, Die Shoal is watching, so we got David and Die. We've got double trouble today. It's good to have you here, Die. Let's see, Erica says, I'm saving up to get one of your saddles so she's comfy. We love hearing that, Erica. And when you talk to Steve, when you're on the phone with him, be sure to ask any question that you've got. No question is off limits. We've heard them all. We've been able to answer them all, and we'll tell you as best we can. And then you get to make that decision, and we'll just make sure that you have the information you need. David Pingelli says, I have 2 mules and 2 Steve Edwards saddles, and it doesn't get any better than that. So there you go, Erica. Just confirmation you're making a good decision. Let's see here. We've got... Okay, Haley has a question. Hey, Steve, or this is Mark, so Mark's on Haley's account. Hey Steve, Mark Williams here from Virginia. I seen a picture of the mule in the rain, and I have had my saddle for about 12 to 15 years, and it has been rained on and rode many miles, and it's still just as good as the day I got it. Thanks for making such a great U.S. product. Well, there you go. Thought it was a question, wound up being a compliment, and sure does make for a good Wednesday afternoon. Morning if you're in other parts of the world, midnight and you're in other parts of the world, but a great afternoon for us. Ain't that right, Steve?
Yay, boy, you betcha. And like Mark said, it's probably been 12, 14 years ago when he bought that saddle.
Yeah.
And I met him and his dad and this sort of thing. And he keeps saying, why don't you come to West Virginia and ride with me? And one of these days, I'm liable to do that because he's an awesome brother in the Lord.
That's great. Well, I'll tell you what, it is pretty cool. Folks will message us quite a bit asking about used saddles, and the things we have to say is there's really not a huge market for used saddles, not because people don't want them, but because they're not available. Folks hang on to these things until until the mule or the donkey is gone, and then if they don't replace it, then it goes up for sale. So a lot of times folks will ask us, do you have used? No, we don't. Because people hold on to them. They don't get rid of them. You might be able to find one on eBay every now and again. Let's see. David's here. He says, what do you suggest? This is David Scholl. What do you suggest when I do with a new mule that is broken when I bring it home as a paddock or as in a paddock or a pen, and when do I start riding her? Did I read that right?
Yeah, sounds good. Anytime you get a new mule, you always take them home. Do not put them out in the pasture with a bunch of other animals. Put them in a pasture by themselves. And by the way, I was talking to a guy today. He made the mistake of turning his mule out in the pasture with his cows, and the mule killed one of the calves. The mules consider these calves small kids predators, so it's really easy for them to attack something like that, feeling like it's a predator. So be careful of that, folks. Now going on, take them home, put them in a small 20 by 20 pen. Take them out, put them in a round pen, do some ground foundational training with them, and then as that goes on, do the surcingle work. Don't get in a hurry to ride. Look for their holes first. Every mule, every donkey has some kind of holes, some kind of problem. Most of the time, and this is extremely prevalent, most of the time they don't have a foundation. Folks just climb on them and ride them. Folks, riding is not the important part. It's riding safely is the important part. And just like driving, Dave, driving's really dangerous. But if you do your foundational training first, life can be good.
That's right. That's right. Okay, let's see here. Keep moving right along. D says, Facebook people are always asking about getting a saddle for their mule or donkey. I just always say, get a Steve Edwards saddle. Comfortable for my donkey and comfort for me too. The endorsement doesn't really get much better than that. D, thank you so much. We're so glad to hear that's your experience more than anything else, and we're very pleased to hear that it has Steve's name on it. That's very fun. Let's take a look here. Over on the YouTube side, we've got Richard from Palestine, Naomi, Mark Miller, Jim Morgan, Lisa, David. Okay, we got there. Let's see. Okay. Rick has a question. Rick is first time watching live. All right. There we go. First time watching. Hey guys, a little rain here in Empire, Alabama. I would like to know what bit would you recommend to use for driving. So we've talked a little bit, but this is Rick's first time, Steve. We've talked a little bit earlier on. Rick, go back and watch the whole thing, but we're going to answer the question for you right here again because repetition is key. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. Steve, what bit would you recommend to use for driving?
Okay, number one, get your teeth floated. Get the balance, get them correct. That's number one. Number two, if you're doing a foundational training and you're training on the mule, a full cheek double twisted wire snaffle bit. You'll see those on my website. When they are finished, when they drive very lightly, then you would use the Liverpool. Again, you will see that on my website. But the number one thing, folks, anytime you're bitting up an animal, make sure the teeth are floated.
There we go. So Rick, make sure you go back, watch the whole thing, and if you have any follow-up questions, we will be absolutely thrilled to answer them for you. Albert is watching from Arkansas. Albert, it's good to have you here. Steve, a little bit earlier we talked about this. I just wanted to get you to share this because it's a brief answer. You talked to Brent over the phone, I believe. He had some mismatched leather in his tack. What did you tell him to get his leather to match? He had two separate pieces. One was darker than the other. And he says,
Yeah.
you know, it just annoys me, which I get that. So what did you tell him to do to get them to match?
Well, basically, all you have to do to get leather to start matching is do like they did with Bunny. Go out in a rainstorm and go ride, and everything will start darkening up. As soon as you get into a rainstorm, by God, it does change. So you would use, normally when you oil from the inside out. So you would